Yep.
Don't start anything till I tell you, please. All right, hold on. Ready to go.
Well, good morning. I'm not sure. I guess Senator Austin's on a Zoom, another Zoom also. We're all doing a lot of Zooms today. I can tell this is going to be a full day, even though we got a snowstorm outside. I want to welcome everybody from the Appropriations Committee. Today we have Judicial first, and then Department of Corrections second. I want to welcome all here. Senator Austin, would you like to say good morning?
Good morning, everybody. Nice to see you all. Too bad we can't be in person, but the weather got the best of us. So,
Yay for snowstorm. Anyhow, let's see, Senator Berthel.
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair. I'll be visible in just a moment, but yeah, it's snowing pretty good out here in Western Connecticut in the Litchfield Hills. So I'm glad we're all safe and able to continue to get our work done today. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not sure is, uh, I thought I saw,
Representative Candelaria is on, ma'am.
yeah, I see Representative Candelaria. Thank you. Good afternoon, sir. I mean, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning.
Okay, good to see you. And I think Senator Winfield is probably doing a judiciary hearing right at this moment, so I would suspect that he is not here. So why don't we just get started? With first up today, we'd like to have Judge Bizzuto. Good morning, ma'am. How are you? I see you brought quite a few of your members here today to answer any questions that we have about anything in this budget, I can tell. I hope you're warm. I hope you're warm, if nothing else.
Yeah, thank you so much, Representative Walker. And yeah, I'm happy to have all of our people on today to assist. But let me start by saying good morning, Senator Austin, and again, Representative Walker and Senator Berthel. I'm not sure if Representative Nuccio's on, but all the other distinguished members of the Appropriations Committee. My name is Beth Bizzuto, and I am the Chief Court Administrator. We appreciate having this opportunity to discuss the judicial branch's operations with you. The governor's proposed budget leaves the branch's biennial budget pretty much intact. We did receive some additional ARPA funds to support expansion of our judicial online communication exchange, which we refer to as JOS, and some additional funds for some unexpected increases in our utility and IT subscription costs. I've submitted written testimony highlighting those items we continue to pay particular attention to, including, of course, our staffing, which is most important. It appears as if we may be stabilizing with small gains in the titles that are most critical to us, those being our marshals, our interpreters, our court monitors, and our office clerks. If I may just take one moment to introduce our executive team. As you know, or may not know, I've just completed my first year in this role, and there's no way I could have accomplished anything without their help and support. They are top-notch judicial professionals. And we have Ty Erickson, who's our Executive Director of Court Operations. Her division handles everything inside our courthouses, essentially. Lucio DeLuca, who's our Executive Director of Information Technology. Of course, Gary Roberge, who so many of you are familiar with. He's our Executive Director of Court Support Services. And I'm so grateful to have Brian Hilt by my side today, who, as you know, is our Executive Director of our Administrative Services. I look at him as our CFOs. Melissa Farley is our Executive Director of External Affairs. She's over before the Judiciary, where I plan to go after we complete this meeting. We have a number of judges up for reappointment today. But thank you again, and we're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you for your intro, and it's good to see you again. You have a great team. They're always there and ready to answer any of the questions we have. So I will open up the floor to questions. Senator Austin.
Well, I don't have any questions right now on the judicial side of things.
Okay.
And look forward to us moving things ahead, and I don't see any real changes from the past biennial budget. So that's all I have right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Bertha?
Yes, hi, good morning. No, I'm all set. Judge Bizzuto, thank you for a quick and right to the point conversation. Appreciate the work that you and all the justices do across Connecticut for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Candelaria?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Judge Bizzuto. Just a quick question. One of the issues that in our last conversation was the number of marshals that you had available. So can you talk a little bit more as to how many positions you fill so far and how many are still open?
Sure. So we recently added 41 to our ranks, so we're up over 600. I know Donnie Marshall's probably, I'm sorry, Murph O'Donovan's probably somewhere on the line today. So we've made some gains. There's another graduation coming up in April, which I'll attend, and we have 2 classes that are in the works. So what we're seeing is, some stability in those ranks. We should be at 700. As I said, we're just above 600. We've done some things to kind of become more efficient by, streamlining our transportation. There are some of our local courthouses that maybe have 1, maybe 2 or 3 prisoners a week, and they're staggered across the week. We've consolidated that transportation down to 2 or 3 times a week, which freed up marshals who are on our central transportation unit back out to the field. We never reopened Enfield, which gained 16 additional marshals from that building back out in the field. The same with Norwalk. That has not been reopened. And by doing so, we put other marshals back out in the field. So, we're trending in the right direction. And the classes are kind of holding firm where we start with 30 to 35 and we end up graduating about 30. Before we were starting with 30 and maybe we graduated 15. So I'm hoping we're trending in the right direction. We still have a ways to go, but I'm encouraged by what we've seen over the past year. And I'm not sure whether Brian or Donnie might have something more to add to Representative Candelara's question regarding marshals.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for the question. Brian Hill, Judicial Branch Administrative Services, Representative Candelaria. So just to put a finer point on Judge Bizzuto's remarks, since the beginning of the fiscal year, we are plus 41 in our judicial marshal ranks, which is, small wins for us, I think is really important. And that's really the first time in the last couple of years where we've been above. I kind of look at it as a plus minus. And we've been above for the last 8 months or so, which is really good. We've got another class of 36 starting on April 19th. On the positive side, we're seeing stronger applicant pools in terms of numbers. And that's one area that I know we talked with you all last year about was our applicant pools. I attribute some of these gains to work that we've done through the collective bargaining process to enhance salaries of judicial marshals, not only at the beginning of their tenure with the judicial branch, but as they move through, we've put some accelerated steps in place. And I really want to recognize that process that we've had at the bargaining table. As Judge Bizzuto mentioned, we still have a ways to go. We have courtrooms where we need marshals on a day-to-day basis. But I am, again, small wins, I think, and some encouraging signs, and we're going to continue to make progress in this area. I don't know if Director Murphy want to add a little more context from the front lines.
Director Murphy?
I do not. You covered everything. Actually, we had a high of 665 in 2020, and we're back at 614. So while that number is extremely low from what we should have, at least we're going in the positive direction. I think at one point we dropped all the way down to 558, which was critical for us to try to operate as a unit. So we're certainly headed in the right direction with a focus on not just recruitment, but retention as well.
Perfect. Well, I'm actually glad to hear that you guys made a couple of changes there because we were a little bit concerned about that. Just one follow-up question, if I may, Madam Chair.
Go right ahead, sir.
You were at some point contracting police officers to cover the courts. Is that still the case today, or with the hiring of this new class, you're not doing that any moving forward?
Don, you want to take that one?
I can. That was very limited, and that was in a few locations only to cover as an armed force at the metal detector during some times we had some concerns. So they weren't replacing marshals; they were there to augment as an armed present at the metal detector. So that's been discontinued.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Representative Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the report that you provided us with. I just have a couple of questions. First of all, regarding the Judicial Online Communication Exchange, and I just wondered, in terms of the ability for the police officers to connect with the judicial department, or the court system, exactly how are we doing in that area? Are we getting the communication that we need? In all instances?
So thank you for that question, Representative Johnson. I'm happy to explain what JOSE is, the Judicial Online Communication Exchange. And I have to kind of go back a little bit. So the way traditionally the judges handle off hours responsibilities, particularly regarding requests for probable cause determination. So we are constitutionally required to review any arrest where the person remains incarcerated within 48 hours. So that's why we always have those overnight arraignments, and all of our courthouses are busy Monday through Friday. But over the weekend, there are people who are arrested who can't post bond, and we're required to review that arrest to make sure there is probable cause. The way we used to do it was there was one judge in every JD, 13 judges across the state, available for police departments within those regions to go to that judge's home to review the paper. So now with JOSE, which just launched January 7th, that's all done on a remote platform. So we actually have 3 judges only, not 13, who take all statewide requests for probable cause after we close our doors on Friday and before we open them up on Monday. And they review it electronically. It's submitted electronically by the police departments on this JOSE platform. The judge has the ability to review the documentation, make a finding of probable cause or not, and submit the paperwork back to the police department. We're going to continue to expand that to next include risk protection orders. That was a law that was passed, I think, in 2022 or 2023. I'm not sure. It's brought a lot of after hours activity for both police departments and judges. And again, currently the police go to the judge's home in the middle of the night or make a call in the middle of the night, and it's handled that way. Now it'll be handled electronically on this platform. So there's a lot of potential to kind of become far more streamlined, far more efficient. I mean, you're taking policemen off the beat out to these remote locations where the judges are. They no longer have to do that. They could just submit it electronically. So far so good. As I said, we went live with the probable cause January 7th. Judge Tammy Gwen is on JOSE this morning, since we're closed, handling any other arrests where people are being held to make sure that that's a proper probable cause has been found. So and I must credit, of course, Lucio DeLuca and his entire team at IT. All I say is I want this, and this is the way it has to look, and Lucio delivers with his people. So we're really fortunate at the Judicial Branch to have him and his team to build those kinds of things in-house, as opposed to the services that are provided outside that we could buy off the shelf. Right. We've had terrible luck with that, and it's very expensive and never seems to really fit our business model. So we're very fortunate to have our own IT department that handles all of those things.
Thank you.
One more question, if I may, Madam Chair. So I want to thank you for that. And also any other information you might have on that I'd be very happy to read. The other question I have is the Connecticut pathway to treatment for nonviolent people who have behavioral health / drug addiction problems. Could you just expand on that a little bit?
Sure. I would be happy to, but I'm going to defer to Mike Hines, who is our director of adult pretrial services. He was there at its infancy, and has shepherded through to where it is now. And he's far better at explaining it than I am. So, Mike, if you wouldn't mind.
I'd be happy to, Judge.
Thank you.
It was a program that was developed in 2015 to assist the Department of Corrections with some overcrowding issues in their MAT clinics in Bridgeport. And basically, the folks that we were looking at that they were asking us to divert were folks that had very significant criminal histories, histories of failure to appear in court. So they're not a good, they're not your typical person that we would move forward with a promise to appear. But one thing in their history that was not there was a history of violence. So these were folks that were just struggling with opioid and alcohol addiction. And part of their arrests were for minor charges like larceny or criminal trespass to break into a vacant building, possession of narcotics. And they were kind of using the Department of Corrections as part of their addiction cleanup. But what was happening was that after they received a short period of incarceration, the court would see them again in 3 months or 3 weeks or 6 weeks or a few months. And so we did our best to start a program in Bridgeport, had some success with it, received some state opioid response money, and it expanded after receiving a BJA grant as well. It expanded to 8 locations, and presently we are operating out of 8 locations in the state of Connecticut. So it's a diversionary program. We have had some success. Most of our success is getting talking folks into getting involved in MAT treatment, because we have better outcomes when we see those folks that take advantage of that service. I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, that was primarily what you had in your remarks, and I just wondered about the expansion, perhaps to other areas. So you did it in Bridgeport. We're doing it throughout the state now. Am I understanding that?
Well, we're presently funded through through the June of 2024 in 8 locations. We'll lose that funding on July 1st of 2024. But we did expand to 8 areas, and there was a follow-up question regarding expansion to all 17 of our geographic court locations.
And one other question is recidivism. How are we doing with that with respect to this program? Do you have data?
I don't have recidivism data as to arrests after. We have data that shows how frequently we're seeing people get rearrested. One of the main measurements of this program was how quickly we can get folks hooked up to in treatment. So our goal was 1 day in treatment. We wanted to have a warm handoff to those individuals to our adult behavioral health providers out in the community. And I think we did a very good job there. We're in the high, like 68%. Had a little issue with COVID because we had to isolate some folks in certain residential programs. So we had to kind of minimize the beds that we had there. The arrests are about 30% of our folks do receive an arrest between arraignment and disposition of their case. But again, the people that we're measuring are our highest risk folks. So our FTA rate, we have about 61% of the people not get a failure to appear. And we had 44% of the successful completers receive either a nollie or a dismissal during the pendency of their case or at the disposition of their case.
One more quick question. In terms of access to treatment, how are we doing with that and making sure that the referrals there? Do we have enough places now for people to get treated?
Representative Johnson?
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll be able to get that answer a little bit later, but we do have other people and we're trying to keep it to 2, and you know that.
Okay, I wasn't sure because we're a subcommittee.
No, good try.
Hey, go for it. Yeah.
Okay, Representative Callahan.
Thank you, Representative Walker. I was wondering if you're going to throw the flag on that one.
I was trying, and she just pushed the envelope. So go right ahead.
No, but Senator Johnson actually provided me a great segue. I was there when Mike Hines gave the presentation about the Pathways program without the sweater vest that day. I'll note, but I know that it hasn't expanded to my part into the 108th district to the Danbury Judicial District. So I'm wondering if Judicial can, maybe it's you, Mike, have you put in for funding to expand this to the rest of the state?
Representative Callahan, first of all, thank you for the sweater vest comment. I know how much you appreciate those sweater vests that I wear. The request came in last week, so we did take a look at the expansion. The expansion would, the original 8 courts would cost approximately 1.8. It's $160,000 per court location for a clinician and a recovery coach to work side by side with our pretrial service folks, as well as our adult probation folks that supervise them on the outside. The expansion of 9 additional courts would be an additional $1.4 million. And we'd have to take into consideration that presently in those 8 locations, we are, we're seeing an increase in intensive pretrial supervision cases coming to us. So there would be a need for, in the other 9 courts, to certainly look at those caseload sizes and potentially ask for an additional 9 probation staff to be able to supervise those cases. I couldn't tell you right now that if every court we would need a probation officer in those locations. Some of our courts are a little bit smaller, but hopefully that answers your question.
It does. I will say that having extensive experience working with most of you people from Judicial, my many friends and years of service with you, Connecticut continues to set the bar as far as recidivism goes. This seems like it's going to be a great, after sitting through your presentation, a very good presentation a couple weeks ago, this would be an excellent tool to further extend our lead in the country as far as improving recidivism rates and being a proactive rather than a reactionary judicial system. So hopefully we can find that money to expand this program. I certainly appreciate your time, and thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. And I also want to thank Mr. Hines for his presentation. I was there and I was extremely thrilled by the program. I think that it's a great program, and I think it's a good way of us addressing addiction in areas where we understand people are using it for self-medication. So thank you so much for all you do. And we're hoping to talk to the Opioid Council to see if we can get some support over there too. So thank you. Senator Austin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was wondering if we could hear from Judge Straight-Cavallis, Judge Beverly on the probate court, that I think they're fitted into this time frame also. I saw that there was a sweep of their fund, and I wanted to know how that was going to impact the probate court.
Judge Cavallis. I see you.
Okay, and I'm now unmuted, so hopefully you can see and hear me.
No, can't
No.
see. We can hear you.
Okay, I don't know why you can't see me. I've had a lot of technical difficulties this morning. I think the snow is impacting the technology. Am I required to be on camera?
No, go right ahead. And you're on camera now. You just moved
Okay, so that's a different camera. So it's not my laptop camera, but I will proceed. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity, Senator Austin, Representative Walker, and ranking members and members of the subcommittee for the appropriations. I am concerned that not only does the current approved appropriation that was approved in the biennial budget not provide for a suspension of the sweep for the upcoming, but also significantly the governor's proposal, which cuts our funding by $5.5 million. Based on the forecast, although our fund has been in a surplus and it's been more robust than in many prior years, it will end the fiscal year with less than the 15% of the expenditures for the upcoming fiscal year if the sweep is not suspended. Again, we've been relatively whole for this current fiscal year, but fiscal 25 will be problematic based on the approved amount, as well as more significantly, like I said, the governor's adjustment.
Senator Austin?
No, I just wanted to have that on the record because I think that that's something that we have to look at in the budget. to do both of those is not a wise situation. We count on the probate courts for their mission, and the number of issues that they handle are things that I think we have to pay attention to. And last year, we allowed them to expand their health care to their workers, not just to their workers, but to their families. And that was an additional expense on the probate court budget. So I think that we need to look at this pretty carefully. And I just wanted to have that on the record and make sure that everybody was aware of the changes in the budget relative to the probate court. Thank you.
And if I may add as well, the repeal of filing fees for name change petitions, the number of petitions is escalating. We project, based on the number of petitions filed just in fiscal year 2023, that would have been revenue of approximately $750,000, which we will now no longer have. So in addition to enhanced expenses because of the health insurance, that is a significant adverse impact that also, frankly, provides disparate treatment for petitioners in the probate court. That as a policy matter is very concerning to me. We do have fee waiver eligibility for all indigent petitioners in the probate court system, and the judges readily grant those petitions to ensure access to the courts. But that loss of revenue is significant.
Judge Kafalis, could you provide the working group with a spreadsheet over the last 3 years of what your fundings were, and especially with the account that we're talking about that was swept by OPM, so that we can look at what your needs are and make sure that we have a balance here and we understand it? Okay.
I do have written testimony that I will submit. Again, technical challenges this morning. Specifically, you're looking for the fund balance and the appropriations. Okay.
We're looking for the financial balance that you've had over the last few years. Once we put in the addition of the healthcare, et cetera, we want to make sure that what we're looking at is represented clearly in your balance sheets. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before you ask your third or fourth question, I will see if anybody else with a question from the committee. Okay, I would like one just to be brought in. I saw that you, Judge Bizzuto, I saw that you brought in the regents and the importance of us trying to find a regents location for the juvenile justice group that you are responsible for. And we have not really talked about exactly how much we think we're going to have to expend, but have you looked at any other locations besides CJTS for possibility of a regent's office?
Representative Walker, we've been at it a long time trying to locate a second place for regions. I'm going to turn over to Gary, but I know we've done several info sessions plus RFPs and have come up short every single time. So it's not for a lack of trying. But Gary, you probably have some more detailed information as to alternate sites and our review of alternate sites other than CJTS. I'm going to turn over to you, Gary, if you don't mind, Representative Walker.
Thank you. Absolutely, Judge, and thank you, Madam Chair, for the question. So yes, we've struggled to get a second location. We did look at Southbury Training School with the Office of Policy and Management and some other external stakeholders as a possible additional site. I know, Senator Austin, you had mentioned some locations out in the eastern part of the region that we will be hoping to look at in the near future. But we're also having in March another informational session with community providers to get everybody on a screen and talk about the work that we're looking to do and to see if there's any alternatives from the community provider network for an additional site. So the work continues to go on. We're putting together a feasibility study for the location that we looked at the Southbury Training School. And again, we're still in the process of working through DAS to get a more expedited review of certain state properties that we could go and look at once they become available. So we don't have anything solidified as of yet, but it's in motion, and we have a lot of options that we're continuing to explore.
Okay. Well, thank you, sir. And thank you for all your work that you've been doing, and your team has been fantastic. And
Thank you.
we need to get that other location, because we're not trying to build a large facility. We're just trying to
Right.
accommodate the kids that we need to. So, and I did notice that the governor had put in money for 5 million for the renovation of MYI, but yet there was no information or anything that was handed. So we are probably going to have that conversation with OPM to see what exactly they were thinking about with that, because of the fact that Judicial will be responsible for that population sooner or later. So everybody should be part of that conversation. So thank you. Thank you very much. Representative Johnson for the fourth time.
I have to send you back for counting. Anyway, thank you so much. And you asked a question I was thinking about, so I appreciate that, Madam Chair. But going back to the probate sweeping of the funds, I did want to ask one more thing about that, and that would be the impact of the sweeping of the funds on the children's courts that we have, and the impact on the communities that try and help out with those issues that are faced primarily in the lower income communities. So if you could help us out with that, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Representative Johnson. I know, as all of you may know, I was one of the originating judges on the Regional Children's Probate Court pilot in New Haven. It's a program and a resource that I think is integral to supporting the families in Connecticut and is very near and dear to my heart. I will share with you that the governor's funding proposal would frankly leave us in deficit of almost $12 million just on the mandatory constitutional protections, funding of the regional children's probate courts, as well as the kinship and respite grant programs. As many of you may be aware, the kinship and respite grant programs provide, frankly, relatively nominal stipends to guardians who don't receive any other subsidies from DCF. They're taking in grandchildren, nieces, nephews, and other family members to keep children in their communities with family, and we can only offer them nominal supports. Our indigent services for conserved persons alone is $7.6 million. The right to counsel for indigent parties is $2.3 million. Just waiver of fees for those parties as well, which would be other revenue we would have, is in excess of $2.7 million. And of course, the funding of the regional children's probate courts, which we do, frankly, on an incredibly efficient basis. Frankly, some of them in the past have been in shared municipal buildings. We're exploring some of those continued opportunities in other communities to make sure that we're strengthening access to the regional children's probate court services. We have over 7,000 children under kinship guardianship through the probate court system. That is a newer approach for federal welfare provisions. The Department of Children and Families is also now mandated in engaging in kinship placements to avoid foster care, but that has been the model and the program in the probate court system for decades. So I'm frankly pleased that the federal government and the rest of the state understands that keeping children with family and supporting them in that is the best approach. And I think that the fiscal benefit of that, as well as the psychological benefit, is priceless.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your remarks. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Representative Porter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to go back and ask Mr. Roberge if you could just expound on what the services are going to be that would be provided for the youth that we're discussing, looking for new facilities for.
Yes, absolutely, Representative Porter. Thank you for the question. So, a second region's location would mirror what we're doing in Hamden. We're finding that the therapeutic environment that we have there with dialectical behavioral therapy as our main treatment service for the kids, coaching, mentoring, teaching, it's all in the service components of what we're doing in Hamden. And we would mirror that in addition to the educational component and the vocational services that we have in Hamden. I think many of you on the screen have been through that program, and you see just the tremendous work going on in our Hamden secure location. And from all accounts, we believe it's a very solid model, and we would look to replicate that model in a second location, another smaller community-based program. As you know, Rep Porter, we continue to have kids, youth in our Bridgeport and Hartford residential centers, our detention centers in Hartford and Bridgeport. And, I think there were 10 in Bridgeport and 11 in Hartford this morning. And our goal is to get those kids into a program that mirrors what we're doing in Hamden with our secure program there. I hope I was responsive to your question. If I wasn't, please let me know.
Absolutely. I just really wanted that for the record so that people can understand exactly the work that's being done and the importance of making this happen. The last thing I wanted to touch on, you mentioned that you're going to open this up to community providers. So if you could just let us know when that is, because I would be very interested in being a part of that and just being able to listen, in and see what's happening.
Okay, I believe we have it scheduled for March 1st. I will make sure that an invite goes out, though. Thank you, Rep Porter.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mr. O'Burge, and thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam. Are there any other questions? Well, we are right up to the end point. I want to thank everybody from Judicial for all your support and your answers. And I'm sure we have a few more questions that people will probably present to Madam Administrator, and we will share for the work group. Madam Administrator.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So our friends in Judicial, thank you very much. And you can log off, please.
Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
Have a good day. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Not that we don't love you. Not that we don't love you, but
you can stay on.
So, Madam Chair, I have a favor to ask of our friends from the Department of Correction.
Yes.
There are several people who are on without their full names. So if we may take a moment, since we're a couple of minutes early, if you could check your name and please make sure that you rename yourself so we have your complete first name and complete last name, please. Because if any of you are called upon to support Commissioner Quiros in answering a question for our transcription company, we need full names so that they can make sure that the transcript is correct. I did not receive a list of DOC participants this morning, so Taylor and I do not have the ability to rename you. So there's somebody on by the name of B. Kennedy. If you could please rename yourself. I'm looking to see if we've got anybody else. T. Figueroa T. We've got somebody on as iPhone. I need to know, please, who that is before we can proceed with the hearing.
If we can't get the response, we have to take you off the call.
There's a few more from DOC who just popped in with the same abbreviation, so you may have to say that again, Susan.
Okay, one more time. So for DOC personnel, I need you to check your name. And if your name is not complete first name, complete last name, I need you to please rename yourself. Taylor and I do not have a list of DOC personnel participating on this portion of our agency presentation, so we cannot rename you. And we need complete first names, last names for transcription purposes. So B. Kennedy, please rename yourself or tell us what your first name is so that we can rename you. All right.
iPhone?
Who's on? Yeah, who's iPhone? Somebody is on as iPhone. Who is that, please? unmute yourself and tell us who you are.
Hi, Maher Kasabji, Dental Director, Department of Correction. I don't know how to name it on the phone, but
Okay, hold on just a sec. So if you could, doctor, spell your first name for me.
Maher
Okay, last name?
Kasabji.
Perfect. Taylor? I'll rename.
And then for Dr. Byron Kennedy, CMO.
I'm sorry, Dr. Kennedy, Byron is the first name?
Yes.
Thank you,
Thank you.
sir. Thank you. All right, Madam Chair, just give us 1 minute to get our ducks in an order here before we proceed.
There's a C. LeMay.
That's Chris LeMay. I can rename Chris.
Okay.
What about MR?
That would be Michael Regan.
Oh, Mickey.
How you doing? I love your background. You look like you're omnipresent, floating there in the.
Thank you. Thank you, Mickey. So it's actually Taylor, it's Michael.
Okay. There's another iPhone.
Another one.
Is there? No. That's the first one. I'm sorry.
Yep, I'm renaming right now.
Do we have any more?
We got everybody, Taylor?
Regan is spelled R-E-A. Like
No,
R-E-
R-E-G-A-N. R-E-G-A-N.
Okay.
Okay. All right, are we good now? We got everybody?
I think so.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone, for your cooperation. We just need to make things.
Wait. We just had a phone number.
Okay.
All right.
Well, hold on. So we have a phone number that just joined us, 959-200-6869. Who is that, please?
Arcio Sanchez.
I'm sorry, first name again, please? Your first name again, please, Ms. Sanchez?
I'm sorry, did I hear that?
Your first name again, please.
Jennifer.
Thank you.
And we have, I'm so sorry, one more phone number.
Go ahead, Taylor. Read it off, please.
Where did it go? 860-919-3384. Please let us know who you are.
Hi, good morning. This is Christina Marino from DOC.
Thank you so much.
Commissioner Kuros, did you leave everybody? Anybody?
Come on, it's a snow day.
I mean, come on, guys. You can do more than just watch us.
And wait, I just saw another iPhone.
Oh gosh.
I know. I'm going to unmute the iPhone user. You'll get a prompt that says I've asked you to unmute. Could you please just let us know who you are?
Lydia Rostkowski, York Correctional, Connecticut DOC.
Thank you, Lydia. I'm going to have to ask you to spell your last name for me, if you don't mind.
Rostkowski.
Thank you so much.
All right, Madam Chair, I think we are now ready to roll.
Good morning, Commissioner. How are you?
Good morning. My apologies to Susan, Representative Walker, and the members for the technical assistant that we needed this morning. What a way to start.
We just have to be very, very clear about who's on, because we have to put in the notations for the records. So that's why people just can't pop in and pop out because we have to identify everybody that participates. So that's why.
Understood.
But thank you, sir. Thank you. Go right ahead with your testimony, sir.
So good morning, Senator Olson, Representative Walker, Senator Hartley, Representative Exmo, Senator Barthel, and members of the Appropriation Committee. I am Angel Kiros, Commissioner of the Department of Correction. I thank you for the opportunity to come before you today to discuss the governor's proposed budget of the Department of Correction. With me today, the main person that's going to be speaking with me is going to be my Chief of Staff, Michael Regan, Chief Financial Officer. Sorry. We have submitted written testimony, and with the interest of time, I will not read so that you may proceed directly to your questions for the department. And I want to say thank you again. And again, my apologies for all the technical problems at the beginning.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Are there any questions for the commissioner? Senator Austin.
Thank you, Commissioner. You put in a response to a bill that we had talking about increased medical staff and mental health staff. I was looking at it yesterday and talking about it with Representative Walker, and I'm just curious, have you been able to fill any of those positions that you had asked for to come see some increase in both medical and mental health staff? I come up with 17 million in one case and another 20 million or so in another case. But I'm just curious, have you been able to even fill the medical and mental health staff that you have in the budget already, or increase those numbers at all?
Thank you, Senator Olson, and good morning. We have made progress with filling the nurses compared to 2022 to 2023. We have seen an increase of 45% of registered nurses that we've hired for the department. We've also seen in 2023 an increase of LPNs that were hired by 56%. We continue to struggle with the mental health when it comes to psychologists and psychiatrists. So our main focus in 2024 is with the mental health piece. We have received some funding in the past for the mental health staff at the Madison Youth Institute. And okay, it's just a nickel. Okay, good. And we have requested from OPM and discussion from OPM another about $24 million in for health service units so that we can continue to expand on the services that report to both that we sent to the representatives so that we can start implementing some of those parts. It's not just resources. Some funding will be needed for equipment, and then some funding would also be needed for space. As you know, the youngest facility is about 25. The oldest facility, the youngest facility is about 25 years old, and they were not constructed to have a full medical unit, so space will be an issue.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. I appreciate that. I know that it makes it hard for custody staff if you don't have the correct medical and mental health staff also. And it makes it very hard for the people who are living inside our prison system. So I think that this is something that's really, really important for us to continue looking at. So thank you for your comments. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And I just would like to piggyback off of what Senator Austin's question. Could you send us or tell us what your full complement that you're looking for health staff in to accommodate the Department of Corrections, incorporating all your facilities that you are covering? And because I mean, you gave us 45% nurses and 56% LPNs, but that doesn't give us the idea of how many do you need in order to have a full complement. So it would be good if we could understand that. And also, as you added on there, you talked about the fact that the facilities are not capable of supporting the staff that you think you need to. So we'd like to know what those requirements are too. It would be better that the committee understand the complete cost. Okay?
Absolutely, absolutely, Representative Walker. That information was in the bill, in the report that we submitted. We will cut and paste and send that information back to the committee.
In the statement that you sent to us?
No, this is back in budget here in 2023. We were asked to submit a bill, a plan for Senator Anwar's bill, and so we'll resubmit it again.
Okay, all right. And those are the numbers, so we have a good understanding and a base to work with. Thank you. Representative Rosario.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Commissioner. I just have a brief question. Can you give us an update on the increase in pay for the inmates and where we are with that?
Yes, good morning, Representative Rosario. We have implemented the increase in the pay raise. There is some modification to the language, the way the bill is written. It will reduce some pay in particular individuals that are already making more money based on the skill set and working in the industry area, but that went into effect shortly after the bill, the implementation date.
So it'll all even out at the end, right?
Yes.
Right. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, sir. Representative Johnson, no more than 2. Don't push it.
Okay, I don't really have a memory problem.
Yeah, I'll help you.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. So first of all, I'm wondering exactly how you plan to expand the reentry programs with respect to psychiatric evaluation, particularly with respect to violent criminals.
That's a great question. Good morning, Representative Johnson. As you know, we have partnered up with the Department of Social Services, and we are applying for the 1115 Medicaid waiver. That Medicaid waiver will provide us with reimbursement up to 90 days before the discharge. And that waiver also has a portion on the reentry piece on expanding the treatment and setting up a treatment before these individuals re-enter back into society. So that's going to expand and provide more responsibility and duties to the reentry counselors that we have assigned to the facility, but also the discharge planners that we have in the facility, and particularly those that are working with the mental health population at Gardner and partnering up with DMIS and other state agencies that deal with the mental health piece. I'm hoping that in the future, if that 1115 waiver gets approved, that we will probably need to add additional resources into the reentry department, but that's down the road, 2 to 3 years down the road.
The second question would be, how are we going to expand mental health services access through psychiatrists and psychologists to make sure people that are being discharged into the community are actually safe?
Great question. Similar to the previous question, the mental health piece has been a challenge for us in 2022 and 2023. Onboarding psychiatrists and doctors and prescribers. That is a focus that we're focusing on. In some cases, we're just not getting the applicants on pull to select. When we do get the applicant pool, salary, the starting salary becomes an issue. But we saw those same challenges with the nurses and the LPNs, and we were able to overcome those challenges. We will continue to do go out into the community, doing workshops to try to hire individuals on the spot, like we did with the nurses, and emails, partnering up with the schools, and we'll do everything that we can to bring these individuals. I would say that the Office of Policy and Management have worked with us in 2022 and 23 and made some adjustments for the where we now, based on the experience, we don't have to start an individual on the first step. As a commissioner, I have the authority to go up to 5 steps and pay, and hopefully that will assist us. But yeah, that is a main focus for the Department of Correction. So that you're right, so that these individuals, when they discharge out into the community, are getting the service they need.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam. Representative Porter.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Commissioner and team. It is great to see you all this morning. I want to talk about the PROTECT Act. Can you just tell me what is left that needs to be implemented with that piece of policy?
Good morning, Representative. How you doing? Great to see you. That Protective Act is fully implemented. Making sure that the individuals, general population, are coming out for 5 hours, making sure that the restricted status program are coming out for 4 hours, and making sure that those that are residing in the restrictive housing unit are coming for 2 hours. We have put in place audits to make sure that facilities are adhering to the Protective Act. The good news for me as a commissioner, and probably not popular with my officers union, is that I am not looking to do any rollbacks of the Protective Act or any new language with the Protective Act. I think it's too early. It went fully into effect on April of 2023, so I still need some more time to let it fully digest for our staff, and then making a decision if there's any changes that need to be made. So that's where we're at. Again, that's where we're at with it.
All right, thank you for that. And then my second and last question, I just wanted to kind of piggyback off what you were just talking about. Could you speak to what are some of the challenges? You talked about challenges with the LPN and nurse hires, and now we're having challenges with the mental health piece, which is really critically important. What are some of those obstacles that you all are dealing with?
That's not always the case with the challenges. If you're not getting the applicants to put in for the job because the job is not attractive, working inside a correctional facility for many of the applicants is not attractive, so that can be set off. From what we've seen, some of them have been, the starting wages have been an issue. Others have been the shift they're being assigned to. We're in constant competition with the private and sector, with the hospital, with Yale, Hartford Hospital, San Francis, so, and then in competition with our other sister agency that are fighting for that same pull. But I'm optimistic that if we continue to use the same method and platform that we did with the nurses and LPN, and working with the Office of Policy Management, going out there and doing job fairs, that we will be able to improve in this area.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you for that response, and thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Representative Candelaria.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
I have a couple of questions, but I know I'm limited to 2, so I'll stay within that. But my first question is, can you elaborate a little bit on that $2.5 million for the new class? And a follow-up to that is, how many new recruits you're foreseeing to hire with that $2.5 million? Also, in the past, we closed Willard, and there were some other savings that amounted approximately probably to $20 million. What happened to those savings? How were those savings reallocated? Or can we use some of those dollars to compensate for this new class?
Good morning, Representative. That's a great question. That's a loaded up question too. So I'm gonna try to answer that as best as I can. Let's start with the facility closures. We closed Northern, we closed Rogalski, and we closed the Willard building. Let's not forget that when we were making those closures, we had close to 500 vacancies. And then we were in the middle of the retirement that went into change July 1st, 2022. So the staff was in the 3 facilities were redeployed into those facilities. So we didn't lay off anyone. If anything, we were able to reduce the vacancy. But so there was a vacancy rate to start off with. We usually average in academy class, I can tell you for FY 2023, actually FY 2023 and 24, we've hired 259 correctional officers. That's 4 academy classes. One went in July 14/23. The next one went in October 6, 2023. We just had one that started February 9th of 2024 with 18 correctional officer. And we have a class that's scheduled for March 8, 2024 of 100 correctional officer. Now that $2.5 million, that's based on the increase in staff assaults. As you know, on August 22nd, 2023, there was a stabbing at Gardner where a correctional officer was stabbed in the neck and the second officer was stabbed in the chest. I dissected that number of incidents, 218. And what I saw was that 77 incidents occur at a level 4 facility, general population housing unit. Then I saw that another 44 incident happened in a restrictive housing program. That's another level 4 facility with your gang unit and your administrative segregation unit. The gang unit is at Corrigan. The SRG is at, the AS is at Walker. And then we also saw 40 of those incidents that happened in an admitting and processing center. That's your county jails, your Hartford, Bridgeport, New Haven, Corrigan, and York. And based on that information and working with the union, working with the governor's office and OPM, I identified that we were going to need to basically double up in the level 4 facility. I no longer can operate with 1 correction officer on the floor and 60 individuals out as a rover. So we've added, those positions will be to add that second rover. So not that it's going to resolve the problem of staff assault, but you're going to have 2 officers in the unit on the floor with 60 offenders that are out for recreation. So I hope I answered your question.
Commissioner, if I may.
Yes, Mickey.
With regard to the representative's question about reallocation of any of the savings, that money does not exist anymore. Those savings were taken prior to the closures. So at the beginning of the budget year, or for the budget in which those closures were to occur, the reductions in our budget occurred prior to the closures. So those funds have already been taken and used for whatever they were used for within the greater state budget.
Thank you for clearing that up. I appreciate that. And one last question, my second question. So my second question is when we move forward with inmate phone calls. Now we were limiting the phone calls that inmates were able to do. I believe it was 6 calls. Now I've been hearing on the, I just want to know how the program actually working, because we had some expectations that it was going to be a little bit more difficult than we anticipated. But I've been hearing through the grapevine that that created a different dynamic where if you have some inmates that are threatening other inmates because they're not using those the allotted number of calls, they're not using them. So I say, if you're not using them, give them to me. I'll use them. And if you don't, then you know what, something's going to happen here. So I've been hearing a little bit of that. How true is there any truth to that, first of all? And how is the actual program working? If you can elaborate on that. Thank you.
So the program is working, it's working great. We've seen a 300% increase in phone calls that are being made by the individuals to the family members. And we've also seen an increase, the same increase in the tablets and the e-messaging, so it's working great. What I did as a commissioner, instead of installing more phones on the walls and space were limited, I gave the approval and worked with the vendor to utilize the tablets as phones. So every offender has a tablet in their possession, can make a phone call at any given time while they're out for recreation. I did have to make an adjustment to the policy. E-messaging was on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Last budget, we asked for 15 correctional officers so that we can monitor those emails. We only got 5. So recently I did send a notice out to the population that at 10 p.m. to 8 a.m., we're going to shut down the ability to do e-messaging when everybody's sleeping. So in order to keep that volume down so that we can have a quick turnaround, remember the e-messaging is like text messaging. There's key words. If we're talking about riots, if we're talking about staff assault, if we're talking about shooting, those e-messaging have to be individually reviewed and approved before we can send it out to the receiving parties. The extortion has probably been limited, Representative. There are probably some cases where a population will strong arm another individual into using those minutes. We try to deter that type of behavior from happening. But I don't think it's as big as a problem because I haven't heard of it that much. And if whenever we find any evidence that that's the case, then we will address it accordingly.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner, can you go back? You named three locations that were closed. Northern, Willard, and I didn't get the third one.
Rogalski.
I'm sorry?
Rogalski.
Rogalski? Okay.
Yep, that's in Montville.
Okay. I have a couple of questions for you. The 5 new vocational village instructors that you have in your budget that you talk about, it looks like each one of them are only making about $33,000. So are they part-time instructors?
No, they're full-time instructors. There's 6 instructors. And I think what they're going to be making, and Director Regan will help me in this, they're making, I believe it's 60, I think minimum is like 67,000 to start. 67,000 start. In this budget, half of that, the salary is covered for the 5, and then the other 50% is covered by the ARPA funds. Mickey, Director.
Yes. So the first half of the fiscal year will be covered by the ARPA funds through December 31st. And then the second half of the fiscal year will be covered by general funds. So what you're seeing in the budget is the general fund component.
Okay. Also, the budget doesn't seem to have the funding for the body scanning units and the metal detectors that were per Senate Bill 1196. How much will the department need for the purchase and implementation of the scanners to eliminate the need for strip searches?
Yep, so that report was submitted on February 1st. We've identified that the agency will need 26 body scanners, and particularly a body scanner in the visiting room that will eliminate the need for strip searches in the visiting room, and also body scanners in your admitting and processing rooms. So that'll eliminate anytime an individual goes to court, hospital trip, out into the community. When they come back, they'll go through a body scanner. It's approximately $4 million on total. We submitted the report as required by the law, and we are ready to implement. Just know that this is a process. Probably once it gets approved and the funding are approved, or it's going to take about a 2-year process. These they have to be manufactured. Then you want the vendor to come in and install the equipment. For the warranty is a 2-year warranty, and then the vendor will train our staff on how to use the equipment. Then our staff will train the remaining staff. So it's not all 13 facilities are going to go up at one time. I'm going to do one facility at a time. Once the equipment is fully up, then give me like 2 to 3 weeks to make sure if anything goes wrong, we address the issues with the vendor, and then we'll move on to the next correctional facility.
So you're saying that it's going to take 2 years for you to get complete?
All 13 facilities, about a year and a half. Yeah, all Yeah, and again, some of it's manufacturing. These, these equipments are not. They're built upon once you order them and you pay for them.
Okay. Representative Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just a quick question with respect to the oversight by the Department of Corrections with the contractors that you have, the nonprofit contractors that you have with respect to halfway house oversight. I just wondered how you do that, and do you have could I get a copy of the kinds of contracts that you have so I could take a look at what you're doing?
Absolutely. I'm not sure on the first part of the question, the oversight of the halfway house.
Well, the contractor is made with the Department of Correction to the nonprofit halfway houses. Then they find the place to put the person. That's the system for it. So what kind of oversight do you have with respect to the contracts that you have with that they have with the Department of Corrections?
Okay.
And how do you enforce the contracts, say they're not following up on the things that you have required? So thank you so much for that. And thank you, Madam Chair.
Right.
Thank you.
So I can tell you, I will send you that. I'm looking at the document right now that identifies all our halfway houses that we have. I can tell you that we got 1,161 halfway house bed and scatter site. This report will identify exactly all our halfway houses, where they're located, and then the cost, and then the amount of beds. I'm looking at substance abuse beds with 42 beds. It's costing me $1.8 million and so forth. So I will send you that document, Representative Johnson. As far as enforcement, we currently have a halfway house in Bridgeport that they're not in compliance with the contract, and my director of parole and community service is leading that, meets with the contractor, identifies the problems, works with the individuals to correct the problem. And it's been my experience. It's called intensive supervision that we do with them in order to correct the problem. And once we bring it to their attention, the problem is corrected. Very seldom it's not corrected, and if it's not going to be corrected, then we seek to part way with that vendor, and then do an RFP for the beds that are going off lines. But I will send you that report though.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
And
I
we will
appreciate whatever information you have. Thank you.
We will send you copies of the contracts as well, which
Thank you.
outline our oversight and the vendor's reporting requirements.
Thank you so much.
Can I just step in and say, please send that to Madam Administrator, Susan Keene, so that she can get it out to all the members of the subcommittee and make sure everybody has that information. Okay, thank you.
That's the plan.
Okay, thank you. Representative Porter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to go back to something that Representative Candelaria had brought up around the savings that were mentioned. I believe it was around 20 million, and those savings have been expended already. I would just like to know if you could provide the committee with a breakout on how that money was spent and how it was allocated.
We would have no means to do that. Once it's out of our budget, it's whatever the legislature decided to do with those funds.
Oh, okay. I thought it was money that DOC spent. It's money that the fund spent.
No.
So that money came back to us.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, all right. So our budget, let's just say our budget was going to be for $100 for that year. You decided to close that we were going to close the facility. So instead of giving us $100, you gave us $75. So we spent $75, which is what you gave us. You then kept $25 to do other things with. That's what we're talking about.
Okay, so I will take that up.
I will add that we also did not save what was anticipated being saved,
right?
Which is why we have a deficit in some of our accounts.
Yes, I do remember that. All right.
We did not end up closing the facility that was scheduled to be closed. We closed a smaller facility and at a later date during the fiscal year.
Yes, I remember the commissioner going over that with us in a previous meeting. So like I said, I'll make that inquiry through the chair. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And we would take that up with the Office of Policy Management when they gave their final budget. Yeah, I made a note of that. We're going to ask for that accounting very clearly. Are there any other questions? Are there any other questions? I just have one that I ask, and several of us ask every year, is what is going on with the True unit? Have we reinforced any of the staffing required? At one point, a couple of years ago, you said you were planning on expanding it to other facilities, and we just don't want all of the efforts that we had put in to establish the True unit and the Worth unit to go by wayside. So can you tell us what's going on with both units, please?
Absolutely. So both the True unit at York, the Worth unit at York and the True unit at Cheshire, they're both functioning. There is no plan to dismantle those units. If anything, we have got into contracts with training, providing training for our staff. So they're going right now, both York and Cheshire staff are going through training to reinforce the program needs. We're developing, expanding the curriculum that we have in both units, and then we're doing some upgrades in the Cheshire units and Worth units so that we can continue expanding those programs. I am not looking to expand those programs to other sites because I said before, those units are heavily staffed, and I just don't have the funds to open up another unit. But in the meantime, I have gone into partnership with Amends. Amends is out of University of California, and in partnership with University of Connecticut, and in partnership with Pair from Norway. We're finalizing the contract. They're going to come in free for cost, no cost to the Department of Correction, no cost to the state of Connecticut, and we're focusing on York and Gardner. Basically come in there and partner up with, and do some intensive staff training related to research and evaluation, policy reviews. They're going to provide us with technical assistance to support development of safer, healthier, and humane environments. So I'm very excited about that with partnering up with Norway for those two facilities. We're also partnering up with Chicago Beyond out of Chicago, Illinois. And again, we're going to go into Cheshire and Corrigan. And again, we're going to try to reduce the physical and emotional isolation for the people that are incarcerated, as well as our staff, and do more intensive wellness training for our staff. And then lastly, we have an RFP that we're finalizing to have a vendor come in and review our restrictive status program. That's the gang unit in the administrative sec program at Walker and Corrigan. And basically give us a current state where we're at. Give us what's a good state, what's a great state. I'm looking at what Massachusetts DOC has done with the restricted status program, what Washington State has done with the restricted status program, what Colorado has done with the restricted status program. That will take a look at the time frame, the due process, what programs are working. The good thing is that in those states, in Washington State and Massachusetts and Oregon, they went to 4 hours out of cell time in those restricted status program. We're already doing that because of the Protective Act, So I'm looking forward to those three new initiatives and keeping the momentum going with True and Worth unit.
Okay, well, thank you, sir. Thank you. And we look forward to getting all the documentation that we need for the questions that we had today. And thank you. And thank your staff for being patient and listening and adding to the conversation. So with that, Madam Administrator, I believe we are done.
We're all set, Madam Chair, until 1 o'clock this afternoon when we have agency presentations from general government A agencies.
Great. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Have a safe day, and please just watch the snow from inside if you can. Thank you. Have a good afternoon. Thank you. Bye-bye.